Howdy, folks. This week we got a whole lot to talk about and not a lot of time to do it, so let's get right to it. The people on the Hill have spent more time protecting themselves, adding to their arsenals of terror, and losing a war that they started. The president's own defense attorney is now the leader of the DOJ, and on day one, he spent his time adding more firewalls to protect the president from future prosecution. ICE supplied themselves with shock gloves, and the Bone Spur Bandit is now running out of bombs to blow people up with. But hey, your wallet's still empty too. But there is some good news. We got a goose out in Texas that's actually looking out for people. Let's get into the speed run. Alrighty, folks. First up, we got said aforementioned former lawyer turned leader of the Department of Justice, Todd Blanche, who on his very first day erected a wall around the president to protect him from future prosecutions by putting out a memo that expanded the protections the president has with his private advisors. Instead of looking out for the Epstein victims, he's just going to look out for one of their potential perpetrators. And speaking of potential perpetrators, did you know that he is now facing a lawsuit from the state of New Mexico where they say they have reached out upwards of 10 times trying to get access to the unredacted Epstein files in connection with their investigation to the Zorro Ranch, and they have been stonewalled by the DOJ this entire time. I would think that if I were him, maybe I would put a little bit more effort into, cooperating with that instead of protecting the president. And speaking of protecting the president, please tell me y'all have heard about what happened in Turkey. In case you haven't, the shit-stain-in-chief had to be smuggled off of Air Force One in a catering truck and put into a smaller plane so that he could make an escape. Mind you, no protections were being taken for the people that were still on the original Air Force One plane. So the staff, the reporters, they can just go fuck themselves if that threat was real. Of course, that's just par for the course with this administration anyways. We can't even keep our ships up to shape. We got folks on the USS Abraham Lincoln throwing themselves overboard because they're being forced to live in squalor, eating food that is rotten, having toilets that are broken, and they have no idea when their deployment will end. And what does Donnie want to do about all this? Well, he just wants to swap back to sanctions and tariffs because, just bombing the fuck out of everything apparently hasn't worked for him. Not that we really can even keep bombing, folks. If you don't know, we've used up almost all of our long-range precision missiles. For fuck's sake, we're even upwards to 60% of our Patriot interceptor missiles gone. But hey, you know what we apparently can't afford? To spend $20 million fucking dollars outfitting ICE officers with shock gloves, because that's all they need. One more gadget on the goddamn tool belt to be able to assault people with. But hey, no, don't pay attention to that. Feast your eyes on this distraction we got for you over here. Like, these fuck-ass Patriot games that quite literally nobody asked for, except for the Fantafascist after he happened to catch one of the Hunger Games movies on TV a few months ago and decided he needed his own knockoff version because he really likes to see teens compete. But of course he's not in the Epstein files, and absolutely none of the proceeds from this are going to make its way to his bank account. And who's paying for all of this? Who is footing the bill for these war games they are playing and the bread and circuses they are providing for you? You are. You are on top of having to deal with gas going up through the roof, the price of a roof over your head becoming something that is unattainable for most folks. Hell, the food that you eat that you can't even afford isn't safe anymore. We are paying for this on every fucking level of society while they just get to have fun and do whatever the fuck they want. You know what? While I try and get my blood pressure down, I do got one good one I want to share with y'all, and it comes from a heroic goose in Richmond, Texas named Goosey. And, he saved his family from a fire, but what you really got to hear is how he did it. You can't tell me he wasn't screaming help. Could you please? Thank you, producer man. Yeah, you can't tell me he wasn't screaming help. Alrighty, folks. Well, that's going to be it for it this week. I think the lesson we can all learn here is that the people in power will always do whatever they need to protect themselves, arm themselves, and then charge you for the privilege of doing it, and then look at you sideways when you actually come to them for help. But hey, you can always put your money on Mother Nature coming through for you. That's the speed run. See y'all next time.